Alpha Charts with a midweek video for subscribers. Today is November 4th, 2025. Before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security. Now, I may hold some positions in some of the names mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerance. All right, thank you all for being subscribers. This video is just for you. Real fast, know your earnings dates. There's a bunch. I know after hours it was AMD and Supermicro and this A-Lab and upstarts out there. I know, and not really good reaction so far for myself from AMD and Supermicro and A-Labs. But we'll see how they open tomorrow. But again, just know your names. That's more important. All right, so we're gonna do a regular video, midweek video that we normally do. I'm gonna spend a little extra time on market overview because there's a lot going on there, and probably a little bit less on setups. I'll go through those, but just not quite as in depth because market's a little rough right now, right? Let's get going into this. First off, the Dow Jones Industrial. Right here, that's on the Dow Jones Industrial. Let's get that going. Why is it not working here? Let's just reset deep view real fast and get the Dow Jones. There we are. Love it. Daily. Perfect. Awesome. All right. So Dow Jones Industrial Average had a big breakout. We'll move higher. Again, we had the retest. And then where we come from. So we came from an extended point, and now we came back and we're retesting this general potential support area and a 23 day. Um, so as much and as rough as the market is feeling in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you see we're just kind of retesting an area here. I'm not, again, it's not like it's breaking down, and we're going to see some breakdowns, but right now that's holding up. The SPY, similar look. Again, big uptrend. That was a questionable, this October 10th was a big day. There's no doubt about it. But price kept going higher, extended from the moving averages. And now again, same look as the Dow Jones. RSP though, which is the equal weight, looks a little different. And this is where we get into a little bit more of this nuance, right? Because we have this double top look. And if it is a double top, we're going to break this level right here. I would consider this the neckline, and this low will be taken out. And then we could expect a measured move, and we'll worry about that if and when that happens. We're looking at how many points is this? Roughly, 7 or 8 points, right, top to bottom, and 7 or 8 points here. 7 points or so would pull us, right in this general area right there, 177-ish. If this is a true double top that breaks down. I'm not saying that it is, and it's not quite yet. I still believe, and we talked about this for a couple of weeks now, that this low is actually probably the most important low out there. I think if we break down from that low, I think the market is in much more danger. As of right now, it's in some danger, right? But not in more significant danger underneath that level. We'll call that 185. It's close, right? It's close. That's an RSP. Again, don't like the false breakout look here, but that's the big deal, the 185-ish, right? Qs. Qs were much more extended than anything else, and they haven't come back to retest yet. They may, right? They may hit 614. That's roughly where it's at. Um, and they may not. We don't know. But 614 is the level that I really would like to see hold on the Qs. Equal weighted Qs, again, they broke down all the way to the 50-day already. Again, I think this level down here, right around this $100 area, is a big level. I think the 50-day at 101.50 is a big level. We're above the 50. And that's a good thing. And it held here. And if it holds here, it's at a special, that'd be really positive to see the 50-day moving average holding right here on the equal weighted Qs, a bounce. And when we go into the internals, we're going to look to see, are we extended where a bounce makes sense here? That's where this is leading to. Mid caps, again, underneath all the moving averages, couldn't break out, at least not yet. Again, this October 10th, very big spot. IWM, at the 50-day, basically sitting right on it. And but still above this area. Again, trying to make it work. We don't have to say that's not a good look, right? Because we all know this is not a good look. Inverted hammer right on the 50-day. Further weakness, and I think this again, there's a lot of space down here. So further weakness, and I think that's a problem. Let's again, I want to see if things are extended. Now, if you remember, coming into this week, we talked about financials. Financials being the weak group, and that was giving us some concern, right? We talked about concern last week and a half or so, all through here as the financials started to break down instead of breaking out. And they're under the 58. Now, they were green today, up 0.5%. So if they led us to the down, the question is, are they going to put in and lead us to the upside? That would be very nice. And actually, insurance today did really, really well. Insurance is IH. I don't know. Is it KIE? Sorry, KIE is insurance ETF. KIE put in 1.6% update. Now it's still in a nasty sideways chop, but it was bucking the trend today. IYG, which is the financial services sector, again, a nice up day. It was okay. It wasn't nice, but it was up, right? It was green. And it's trying to put in a move higher here, and it's right at the 50-day. And so if IYG can retake this, good chance that XLF is also starting to really rebound because IYG, let me just show you real fast because we're here. IYG is the big boys. This is Berkshire, JP Morgan, again, right there is 25%. Visa, MasterCard, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, American Express, right? And all of them, Citi, Schwab, BlackRock. This is Simon Group, SPGI. No, is it Simon Group? No, S&P Global, sorry. Citi Financial, Robinhood. You see them all. And here's the percentages. The point being is that if this is, Berkshire's a big one in here, right? That's 12%. JP Morgan, another big one, looks better than most, right? But again, if they could retake their moving averages, chances are we're going to see financials also, and that's really, really powerful for the market, I think. So seeing that happens. SMH, super extended, pulling back, looks just like the Qs, really. Um, so again, still within the context of a longer term uptrend. XSD, same thing, but a little bit worse, right? This was down 5% today. And really, this 50-day is a big deal, I think, if it comes down, another day or so. I'd really like to see XSD hold it. It hasn't been under the 50-day in a very long time. And we would like that to continue. Transports were down on the cap weighted, and I think that was mostly because of Uber today. Uber was down 5%. And again, that plays, a 22% stake in here. But the trains up, UPS probably down. Yeah, it was. FedEx probably up. Well, it was down a little bit. Anyway, but trains were up today, right? And so when we look at the equal weight, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth, but I think this is really instructive here, and for me myself too, as well as for all of you. When you see equal weights, they were even, they were flat on the day. So the cap weighted really hurt by Uber, that was down, still trying to make this base, but on the equal weighted, you could see they were break even. Well, transports hopefully stopped going down here. I can't say they have, but that's the look. It was relative strength, right? XLF, relative strength. The things that were making us a little more concerned did a little bit better today. Housing ended up green today. Again, we talked about this ABC or 5 wave pattern. We'll say it was ABC, and then it gave us one more wave down, so we changed to a 5 wave. And I talked about the RSI, and I'm gonna put the RSI on here real fast. I don't use it all the time or that often really, but you could see the divergence here. So basically, the divergence is price made a lower low, but the RSI made a higher low. So that is a true RSI divergence versus price. It's a bullish divergence. And I think housing, which again led to the downside, if they can start to lead to the upside, I think the market follows financials, transport, housing, the things that led down hopefully will lead back up. So this is a positive development if we get some follow through. Don't know what that looks like, but that's I think that's an important factor. XHB looks exactly the same. They were basically break even on the day. ITB was up just a little bit, but again, they tried to push it down, and the buyer stepped in. So I'm encouraged by this type of thing. Okay, I'm not saying I'm basing all my trading off it, but that's encouraging. Mag 7 got obliterated, not obliterated, but it got hurt today pretty good. It was obliterated back here. But they look at the recovery, it got extended, pulling back, still in trend, still above all the moving averages. They're still moving up and to the right. There's even some space for them to even pull back a little bit more, and the trend is still there, right? Just looking at these real fast, I do like Nvidia was down 4, Google down 2, Amazon down almost 2, Tesla down 5. That one hurts, right? Because I'm long Tesla multiple ways. Apple was up today, so that's something to watch. Microsoft under the 50-day, don't love that, but the buyers did start to show up there, so that's interesting. And Meta just looks absolutely terrible. But it does look like the buyers are starting to get tired. I mean, sorry, the sellers are starting to get tired here. But man, that was a brutal, brutal move from here to here. I mean, it's moved down 16% in a very short period of time. And there's your double top. That would probably be the break. Let's just, for funsies, um, screw this up. I'm probably doing this all wrong, right? Somebody's in the comments. If you, so it depends on where you put it. I would put it here. It's not really clear. But so there's maybe a little room down here to 618-ish. That's a possibility. Just looking at some kind of retracements right there. Anyway, point being is that it got, these really did get hurt pretty good. And sorry, get back into here. And there may be some more room. Again, and man, we talked about this range and this, what was going on with this range, and really it resolved to the downside, right? It was a top. It resolved to the downside. Quick recovery, everything's okay. It doesn't look like a quick recovery is going to happen, but that would be what we want. And Ethereum, 10%, absolute brutal move. This is obviously stay away, and as an indicator, not good look for risk on. All right, so you see, I don't think again individual names got hurt way harder than indexes always will. But these are at very key levels, and we're seeing some signs of, hey, maybe we're at some support. Not maybe the support, it could be the support, I don't know, but it may be at some support. Let's look at the internals and see what they are showing. So on this side, new highs, new lows. You can see, obviously, new lows are dominating. Advanced decline, obviously, decliners are dominating. Now, stage analysis. This is interesting. I'm working with Deep View a little bit to create an indicator comparing stage 2 uptrends to stage 4 downtrends, and to be able to visualize these on a chart. Sorry, stage 2's here. Stage 4's there. Um, uh, and so we see where things are getting to extreme, and I think that could be constructive. Now, we never really know until we actually look at the data set, but I think that's going to be really interesting. I know Nur, if you know Nur on X, he's awesome. He was doing this manually. We started doing that a couple days ago, a few days ago, and we did CC Deep View on that, and Richard and Nick and Rai are working on getting that done. So the point is that stage 2 is now down to 30%. Remember, when we were talking about in the 40s, we were like, ooh, it's starting to get a little weak, right? 45%. Well, now look, now stage 4 is at 46%. So is this getting extreme to the downside? I would love to look at the history on this. So I'm hoping that once they put that together, and we could share that, and I could put it, whether it's in line here, I'm not sure what it's going to look like yet, but to be able to see that as another gauge of over overbought, oversold type of thing, right? A big picture, big picture. Another way to visualize stage analysis. But right now, you see, we're really stage 2 is only at 29%. Under 30%, that's really bad. Again, I'm not sure how low it's going to go, but that's pretty low right now. For a market, SPY still above the 23 day, right? Technically, this hasn't reset. right? The cycle count. Yet we only have 29% in stage two uptrends. That's interesting, right? That like so there's a lot of data here. I think that we're gonna sorry, there are data here, stage two and versus stage four that we're gonna see. But again, looking here, technically power trend's on, right? So again, how bearish do you want to be? Power trend is still on. Stage two uptrend. By definition, we're still in a stage two uptrend on the index. Now, new lows relative to new highs, again, it's something that we watched and we noticed that it was getting, not looking as good back a few days ago, right, and into Halloween, and it just has really been advancing. It's negative 255. That's a decent amount. Now, is it like a capitulation amount? I don't know if it's capitulation amount. It can get pretty low, as you can see back over here. But we don't have a market like this right now. This looks nothing like this. So we'll see if it starts to expand or if it starts to recover. But definitely something we're watching. Again, keeping us more cautious. And percent of stocks above the 50-day only at 33%. Is that extreme? Not extreme, extreme, right? Again, when we look down here, you know, it got to single digits, right? That's extreme, under 10. At 33, it's low, not extreme. Um, again, you see what did well today right there. All right, let's get into here. And interesting. Okay, so I was waiting for some of this to show up. All right, so you see momentum obviously to negative, negative momentum. Again, when you look at extremes, could get very extreme where not that far away. And so it's pretty nasty so far. And so we may see a bounce here, right? Like in within the uptrend, like here, right? Because it looks more like this situation than it does like this situation. So we are at a point where we may see a bounce in another day or two or something like that. Also, our FOMO indicator is not extreme yet. That tells me we may have a little more time to go, right? Let me just move this over just a little bit right there, right? We may have a little more time to go. It's only at 30%. I think realistically that we bottom when this gets down to 15 or lower. Again, I could be wrong. So we may get another day or two of chop sideways or even potentially lower. That would not shock me at all looking at this indicator. Interesting here, though, it actually made a higher low. That's kind of interesting. Again, I'm not trying to dissect any indicator to death, right? But it did make a higher low there, even though the markets were pretty rough today. That's kind of interesting, right? So what held up? Held up pretty good. Looking at the VIX. So the VIX really bounced hard, straight up. It's at 19. Not as high as I would have thought, but still much higher than where it started. It was up 10% today. Okay, that's fine. Again, and we talked about, potential. We had this, and then it kind of came back, and then we got this one capitulatory move. We could be here again. If you remember that video I made a couple weeks ago about what could might happen, this still could happen, and we may still get that move. And just that was on April 8th, and this was on March 25th. The move from here to here was 2 weeks, right? Well, this was on the 27th. Now we're on November 4th, so we're basically 1 week. So we may have, again, a capitulatory type move on the VIX, looking something like this yet to come. I don't know, obviously, but it does align a little bit with something that looks like this. I can't say it's going to happen, but just to be aware that this is a possibility, um, and that's obviously pretty ugly. We'd love to see this turn around, but we don't have that quite yet. So do credit spreads agree with the VIX? And yeah, they're moving higher. Again, still rangy, nothing crazy, but they are moving higher. So there's enough agreement there, in my opinion. And then percent of stocks above the 50-day, you see at 34. A lot of white space down here. Again, another one or two more fast moves lower, and we may get that capitulatory type of move, similar again to back in April. Does it have to get all the way down here? It doesn't. Sometimes it gets to 15, sometimes it gets to 10-ish. But that being said, there's a lot of white space here, right? And you see the rollover at this point. And then let's see how sentiment looks. Um, so this to me says complacency, right? That's what that says to me. Complacency. Gotta get this going here. Yeah, we do this anyway. The point is, it's complacency. We're not seeing you know, we're not seeing any kind of extreme-ish type measures here. And I don't know what happened to all my data on here, man. It all got erased somehow. They must have done something on the back end at Trading View. That sucks, but it is what it is. And I think I had a 1.5 and I had a right there, I think. For now, I'll just leave it like this. Um, we're not seeing any type of extreme moves at this point. And that's a little complacent, right? So it's kind of interesting because I was hoping to get some more extreme looks today. And as much as we are, you know, pretty ugly looking, pretty ugly looking, pretty ugly looking, looking at some of these charts, looking at pretty ugly looking, we could get a little bit more, maybe 182-ish, right? Maybe 180-ish, right? That would be something that on RSP, right? Looking at the SPY, a tag of the 50 day. Did it here, might not do it again. 663, okay. Well, that's just by time that's another 2%. 2% on the SPY is, 7 to 10% on everywhere else. Right? Right? Qs, right? If it tags the 50 day, that's another 3%, right? That's easily 10% on a growth stock. So that's where the risk is. This is where knowing your time frame is super important, right? Because if you're a longer term investor, and like my TML list is a longer term investing strategy. And let's just do that. Let's just go right there and there. So I'm not freaking out on this list, right? Broadcom. Okay, so above the 50 day, 50 days rising. Not freaking out. NVIDIA. Again, this is just letting it work. Not going to freak out on this, right? It's above the 50 day. This is the time frame for this strategy. Palantir, same thing. Coinbase, this one's a little uglier, right? I'm still going to hold this because I'm probably going to let it work through this section. 290-ish or so. It's got to hold, in my opinion, on this one. But overall, letting it work. Tesla, same idea. 50 days all the way down here, letting it work. Same for Robinhood, SoFi, letting it work, right? They're all above the 50 day, 50 days rising, except for Coinbase so far. Oklo, I reduced up here. This is nice. I'm glad I did. If we get further moves lower, I'll probably reduce again. Um, and then I'll probably take the final piece off. I'll probably do it in thirds. I did about half here, and I'll probably do another half and then the final half if it continues lower. It was a good trade. I was up over 100% when I took it the first half up here. I think I'm still about 60 or 70% over here. And then we'll just reduce as if and when it moves lower. But 50 day for something like this. Rocket Lab is at the 50 day. Yeah, I'm probably going to give Rocket Lab a little bit more leeway than Oklo. It's a little bit, listen, space is speculative, but still, I think uh, big. By the way, earnings dates. Know your earnings dates, guys. And then EOS is the newest one. 50 days down here. Earnings is tonight or tomorrow? Tomorrow. So a lot of earnings coming up soon. Well above the 50 day, still rising. So I'm going to be holding that. So you see, this time frame is most of it's doing just fine. This is just part of trading, right? This is normal trading. Market activity is going to do this every so often. In my swing trading account, that's a little bit different, right? I'm going to be less tolerant in my swing trading account because it's a shorter time frame, right? I'm using instead of the 50, a lot of times I'm using the 23 day as my stop. So there's some new names, and I'm gonna remove some names as we go through this. I have 50-ish, yeah, 50 results here. We're gonna remove some names as we go. But Garden Health, healthcare has been stellar the last few days. Garden Health after earnings looks really good. Again, too extended for me, but looks really, really good. A-Tech, Alpha Tech, again, another one looking really, really good. Again, it's not um, this Zometry. We talked about it and love it with this base. A nice big 28% move so far this week. Again, not where I want to buy. Now let it calm down, come back around, and then maybe we could buy here. But Zometry is now back on my list, right? We talked about it here, big move higher, and it did it again with this earnings as well. Natural gas is doing well, right? I think those oil and gas names are doing really good. Natural gas is good, is a good one. I'm still in this one. Tim had his earnings, and I think it gapped down like 8 or 9 or 10% or something after earnings. Would want to really see this hold true for this to even stay on this list. So we'll see how it closes tomorrow. The real um, it's starting to decline off this. I'll probably take this one off. Does have earnings on November 10th. EOS, we know that one looks good. We just talked about it. NVTS had earnings, I believe today, holding the 50-day. Inverted hammer on the 50-day. Let's see if it can bounce up here. If it can, again, looking out, big picture, right? Yeah, no, of course, 22% down. I don't love it so far this week. That being said, let's just keep watching, see if it can build out something and then move higher here. We're gonna just watch it, right? I like the name. Um, Love this type of accumulation. Even all the way back here. Let's see what happens. Roku, still in my Roku position, holding up really good. Again, letting this position work. My stop is in a positive place right now. Not very positive, but it's positive enough. And now it's just to let it work through. Maybe I get stopped out. I don't know. But it was only down 2.27 today. Um, this is Wayfair. Again, big gap up. There's a beautiful kind of bull flag that's building out. Moving averages are starting to catch up. I still want to see a little bit more from it, but it looks pretty good here. FNC, Fluence, again, 8% move. Don't let this chart deceive you. 8% move, and we liked it coming into this week. This was actually no, this wasn't on. This was on the potential list. We liked it coming into this week, and again, it's just not working out. It's a little bit too extended. NBIS, another one, back to the VWAP from here, right? And there's your 50-day. What does it do here? I'm interested, right? What this does, oh, in earnings too, November 11th. That's interesting, right? SLDP, again, the bar doesn't look huge, but that's a 12.5% move. There's your 50-day, kind of still in this range. I'm gonna watch it for another couple of days, because the low volume. It's just an interesting name to me. Uh, Here's SYM, well above the 23-day still. That looks good, right? Again, look at this type of accumulation. How were the sellers stay? They were not really there. ASTS earnings November 10th, sitting on the 50-day. We'll just keep watching that one. NUAI, again, smaller cap name. Um, Tons of accumulation though, right? Tons and tons. Kind of watch that one. Biotech's working relatively good. There's your 23-day if you're still in it. That one looks good. I know we talked about that. DNN, I'm going to take this one off. It just doesn't look good. It's at the 50-day. Maybe it bounces. I don't know. Um, I'm taking MSauce off as well. This is the cannabis one. Again, it was looking great, and then it kind of fell apart mid to the end of October, and so we take it off. Bloom Energy holding up really well, right? This guy's taking this one. This was the antimony name. It just didn't work, right? Some trades just don't work. This one holding up well. Again, another one I'm still in. It hasn't stopped out on me, and so I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to let it keep working as it builds out, right? So far looks pretty good there. Lemonade, I'm really interested in this one after earnings, which is on the 5th. That's tomorrow. Great looking chart, but I can't buy it before earnings, right? So this makes this time of season pretty hard. Snow still working well. It was down 4% today, but overall, not doing anything wrong. Let it trend, let it work. There's a lot of room up here, right? Let's let it kind of see how far we can get with it. SMCI seemed like it was down. Let me just see what it was today. After hours, it is down 8%. So that one's going to come off open. is on the 6th. It's right at the 50 day. That's kind of interesting to me. I'm gonna hold on to that one. Poet earnings coming up. Not looking good at all there. I'm gonna leave it on for another 1 or 2 days. It's given back so much, right? 39%. I'm just interested to see if this bounces or not. If this is some kind of falling wedge. Lumen holding up super well after earnings. Looking at the weekly, you see how this is a big spot right here. If it can kind of hold up, um, yeah, that looks pretty good if it can hold up here, right? It was down, 10% today. That's nothing to sneeze at. But it was up 15%. Again, it's a volatile name, right? Inside day. If we get inside and up, Lumen is kind of interesting. Moving averages starting to catch up. Interesting name. I love NU. This is new holdings, earnings in 2 weeks. Love this kind of pattern. Holding the 23 day. It's just an interesting name. But again, be careful for earnings. All right, so let's get into some energy names. SEI is an energy infrastructure play. And let's look at the weekly. And yeah, nice weekly chart, right? Right? You see how it did nothing and then kabooey, right? And look at the volume pickup as well. All right, so then we are going to look here, and you see how it had earnings, and they tried to push it down, and they couldn't. I like that a lot. You obviously have this area that looks interesting here, and if it can build out into this area, I'm not saying that's going to zoom out tomorrow, could, but if it can build out here, SEI looks really good. An energy name. Grab had earnings. They tried to push it down, and look how the buyers step back in and push it above the 50 day. Now it needs to settle down and then hopefully make the right side of a base here. If it does, Grab could be back in play. Again, I like these big wicks, like similar to this big wick, big wick. Again, it looks like distribution. I don't really consider this distribution. It was early on, and then it became accumulation in my book. Hood looks great. Again, SoFi looks great. Tesla still looks absolutely fine. We'll see if that continues, but looks fine for right now. Palantir looks absolutely fine for right now. Rocket Labs testing at 50 day. Again, Broadcom, Oklo, Nvidia. Okay, let's go to ONDS. Holding a very key level here. This is one that I'm very interested in as well. You do have a VWAP from this giant day right there. Is this capitulation type of volume? Maybe. We're gonna find out soon. Earnings on the 13th. Again, I really want to start to see it retake these moving averages soon to be interested in this ONDS. You can put a little trend line, something like that, maybe. Again, I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but it's pretty close. And we'd love to see a retake of moving averages and a break of that trend line. All right, so more names that look good. NE was oil and gas name. This was actually the pick of the week. It started out yesterday, awesome. Gave it back. You may be out of it. You may still be in it. I don't know, obviously. But it did not take out yesterday's low yet by a few pennies. And so that's where I put my new stop right down there. Again, so it changes the risk profile a little bit, but I'm still in it with this inside day. I would like to see it inside and up. It may stop me out tomorrow though, but that's where my new stop is at the low of yesterday. It just made sense to me. Valaris, again, another one, oil and gas name. Overall holding up pretty well. Rig, look how nice this is holding up, right? This is just sideways action letting moving averages catch up. Very nice. So some of these oil and gas names are looking really good. BLDP, earnings in a week. Um, Again, right here, trying to build out this like, kind of like this handle-ish here. Again, this trade really didn't work out great, but doesn't mean that we're going to abandon this. We're just going to kind of watch it now. If it can make the turn here, maybe have earnings, that could look interesting. Joby, man, oof. I don't know if it's because Tesla hinted at a flying car or what, but this one really took it on the chin. Earnings. When is earnings? Move my face. November 5th, earnings tomorrow. Does not look good for earnings. Uh, UiPath. This was looking pretty good for a while. Um, Highest volume ever. That always gets my attention. Like Poet, highest volume ever, right? And that usually, which is right in here, that is usually a really good omen for a stock, right? More buyers than sellers by a lot. But look what it did. It just fell apart. And so that is, that's why we manage risk. Tech, again, not looking great. Steel Dynamics coming back in. And APH, again, came in a little bit, but still looks really good. So there's a lot to be taken from here. And I think there's definitely a cautious um, we should be cautious, the market, 100%, and not be aggressively buying anything anytime soon until we can see some of this happens. Like we may get one more thrust lower. I wouldn't be totally shocked if we see some sort of washout type of move. Doesn't mean I am like bearish the long term, but I'm definitely going to be very cautious. And again, I'm going to put in, it's funny because, you see how sometimes you get cautious and you get uncautious and then, but the market just isn't right, right? So there we go. Cautious again, raising cash, taking some profits where they're at. But I don't want to get too bearish because when we look here, and we look at the SPY chart, you can see that we may be close to a washout. And I don't think that if we get one more little capitulatory type of move, it may not be that far away. So cautious, know your earnings dates. And just be careful. Raise some cash if you're worried, right? If your stops are getting hit, that's signs from the market saying, "Hey, listen to the feedback." We have to be, risk management's number one. It's kind of interesting though that we have, we're at levels, and again, we have the 50-day, which is, really kind of like my absolute line in the sand. That's the difference between above the 50-day and below the 50-day is all the difference to me. Below the 50-day, and again, RSP is below the 50-day, is a pretty nasty look. But we don't have that on most of the places yet. MDY we do. IWM is at the 50-day. So again, there's caution, but don't just, in my opinion, I wouldn't just sell just to sell. Raise your stops, take maybe reduce some if you're really nervous about it, and then go from there. Okay. Again, thank you all so much. Have a great day. I hope this has not been too rough on y'all. But just know that we're starting to get to some of those numbers. Okay. So hopefully I will have a better Thursday. In a few days, we'll have a better video as far as what the market's doing. All right. Take care. Have a good day. Bye bye.